Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sneaking Into Movies. I'm your host, Chris, with my co-host, as always, Jason. How are we doing, Jason?
Living life like it's 1999.
Like it's 1999. Rest in peace, the symbol. I will be, we will be reviewing 2024's Drive Away Dolls, the comedy road trip type of movie, 2024, directed by one Mr. Ethan Coen of the famous Coen brothers, and starring Margaret Qualley and Geraldine Viswanathan. Jason, would you recommend this movie?
I would recommend it if it's streaming.
A qualifier in it. If it's free. Yes. I mean,
If you already have a subscription, let's do it.
It's really hard with content these days, isn't it? It's like to see this movie gets lost. These kind of movies that are like, I think have quality in them. They're good stories. They have a voice to them. I think this had exceptional performances, or one exceptional performance, which we'll get into. But where does it go in the theaters? Is it a theater movie? This may be like in a big city, like you want to get out on a cultural kind of night, but it's like, this isn't like a theater type of movie. So it is a streaming movie.
Yeah, I think they used to be called independent films,
Yes,
and then we just threw that label away, and now it's like, oh, this movie should make money. No, some movies are just for the art. I'll be perfectly honest. If you are, I'm going to stereotype, but if you're a lesbian, you're going to get this movie, even if it's kind of stereotypical and broadly general. You're going to get this movie better than some other people. So I don't think this is a mass market movie, even if you do have a Coen brother attached to it. There's a reason why there's only one, not two.
That's a fact. I definitely hear you there. You know, I'm not sure if this is like the National Endowment of the Arts should be filming this or like doing this, but you know, there is a point about cinema in there about that as a representation of our country and culture. And there has to be space for films like this. Now, I want to hope that because of the attachments of a couple, like because of the Coen brothers, they were able to pre-sell this and, you know, make it at least like not a, you know, financial pitfall for them, even though they haven't exactly had a bunch of hits since their kind of their early run there. Okay, well, let's get into some of the positives, Jason. And this is the reason I actually suggested you watch this was because I love Margaret Qualley. I just love her. She is like, do you remember the movie Mulholland Drive? Okay, well, Naomi Watts, that was like one of the first times I think I saw Naomi Watts, and it was just so struck me, like how much she like stole the movie and how much she just commanded the screen. And that's what Margaret Qualley has been around for a little while. She has been doing, like I wrote down some of her films we'll talk about in a second, but it's like she just keeps coming. This is, to me, like she is on some sort of trajectory to like Oscars and, you know, historic run. I think she's like that talented. Okay, Jason, let's talk about some of her movies. Let me see what you think about this.
Can I tell you what I think about that character?
Oh, please.
That character, Jamie.
The character name, Jason, I like that.
Yes, she's lucky I'm not using her full government name. I felt that it felt a lot like watching Vince Vaughn, because it was just, instead of just answering a question or making a statement, it went on and on and on and on, and forgot how much I really don't like that. Because although she's a great actress and I think she played her part, they were amazing together. And Marion and Jamie were amazing together, polar opposites, but it just, she suffocated the scenes. She didn't steal the scenes. She suffocated them to where the other person's just sitting there like, wow, and awestruck. Oh my God, look at how much she says. I just,
wow, what
unnecessary.
You know what? I see the Vince Vaughn. That's perfectly, I think that's very apt of just like a lot. And you know what? Vince Vaughn, you love him or hate him. And maybe Molly she's dividing the country, Jason. The country is divided. What do you think of Mrs. Margaret Qualley here? Let me just run down a few of her things. Well, to me, listen, that is I hear what you're saying, and it's like it takes a certain counterpart in those scenes. Like I didn't write down the character name, I wrote down the actress Geraldine. I think she had just enough of the sort of like that. I mean, the character arc kind of like went from the passive to a little bit more, she kind of blossomed a little bit there, but I think like it was the nice counterbalance. I just like her so much. I can't help it when you see like people that have the force or the energy that she has. It may be suffocating, but gosh, it gets some hot air in there for a little bit there. So let me just run down some of these movies, Jason. She's on a roll. I mean, she is doing a lot of everything that's coming out. She's in The Substance, which is out now with Demi Moore.
Ooh,
Demi Moore,
that's the horror movie.
it's like a horror.
Is that
like
the horror movie?
I think so. It's like a plastic surgery. They take something for beauty. It actually looks quite good. I want to see that. And Demi Moore is another fantastic actress who doesn't get enough sort of credit there. So great matchup. I was excited to see that. She did Kinds of Kindness and Poor Things, same director. Kinds of Kindness went real quick right out to like all the streaming platforms, like almost simultaneously. I don't know. It was conceptually.
Did you watch it?
I did watch it. It was like conceptually a good idea, kind of a multi-story line from the same character perspective. I just didn't have a great emotional connection with it. But anyway, she was a small part in there. She did Poor Things, another sort of smaller part. Same director, right? I thought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where she was like the hippie actress who got picked up by Brad Pitt.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I think a lot of kind of universally, regarded as a powerful performance in that. If I'm being honest, I was ignorant until you told me about her parents and Andie MacDowell being her mom. I think that was so wise of her to not take the name, even though I'm sure growing up with Andie MacDowell, like she called up Bill Murray and she's like, gets an audition there. But she also did.
Would you be a Nepo baby?
She definitely a Nepo baby.
Would you be a Nepo baby?
Oh my God, of course I would. Are you kidding me? No, you know what? I guess it depends here because I could have followed in my, like my dad offered me things to do, and I went my own path. So I'm not entirely sure about that, but if my mom was Andie MacDowell or somebody else, I might follow into the footsteps a little bit more and use that to my advantage. But
I don't think it's a bad thing.
I think she's earned it.
You still got to be talented.
You have to be talented.
Get the part.
100%. She's in a movie called Nice Guys, which I thought everyone sort of loves and has become a big kind of cult hit over the years.
Which I don't remember that one.
Nice Guys with who played Ken? I'm like drawing a complete blank.
Oh, is that Ryan
Gosling? Yeah, Ryan Gosling.
And not Russell Crowe.
Yeah, Russell Crowe. Ryan Gosling, Russell Crowe.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that movie.
She's in it. She's fantastic. There's a movie she was in. I wish I did not save it. You'll look it up yourselves there. It was with Shia LaBeouf, and it was an indie, and I think it was like very sexually explicit, and it was like very raw, and this was like earlier in her career and sort of like showing her kind of her range.
Her range. That's what people are watching for. Her range.
Well, good for her. I love her. I know what you're saying. That's so interesting that she suffocates. But I guess that's the sort of like this is coming from the guy who loves Nicolas Cage. I'm gonna like a scene eater, a scenery eater.
Is that technical? Did you learn that term in film school? Scene eater?
No, no. That's a colloquial.
It's good. You've coined it. It's good.
Well, Jason, I loved her. Let's talk about her counterpoint for a second. Geraldine Viswanathan. She was in a few indies. She was in a movie called Bad Education. I remember her scene in that with Wolverine. Did you see that one where he was like this disgraced? He like took all this money. HBO movie.
I think it's an HBO movie.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
I remember that. And then Blockers with John Cena.
Was she in
that? Blocker. I think she played like a daughter in it. But her face was recognizable. Those are the movies when I looked at her filmography. I was like, oh, I remember you in those. But really, that's it. So the movie.
Would you recommend the movie?
I would.
Was the one saying.
I like an indie movie. I mean, I like a Coen Brothers sort of sensibility where it's just like sort of has a voice. I mean, at least it had a voice and it had like the sort of uniqueness when she like go find the bars. And I thought it just had I don't know, it felt believable to me. Like maybe I just got lost in the performance or something, but I thought the it's like listening to a folk song or something. It just has a certain energy to it. And so I did like it more than I thought I maybe would. But also, you said something in the beginning. I also did see it streaming, and I want to say I waited till it was free on Amazon Prime or something. So like became even more expectation level had been lowered on it.
You know, I wanted to point out something where when I was watching it, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know any lesbians. I don't have any lesbian friends. I don't think I have any lesbian family members. So I don't the extent of lesbian culture that I know is a segment on Seth Meyers' show, Jokes Seth Can't Tell, where the lesbian and the black girl tell jokes and they make Seth tell them. And the lesbian ones are very spot on, I guess. I'm just assuming. Talking about cats, they move in together as soon as they meet each other. And they're hard to get rid of. And when I'm watching the movie and I'm going, I wonder how much of this is accurate for the lesbian community, or just kind of like, oh, okay, this is just, it's humor for the movie. But it was interesting to see it. Oh, I don't want, this may sound disrespectful. It almost felt like the Green Book to me when you're going through the South and you're going as a black family in the 30s or the 40s and going, we need to find the places that are for us. And and so when they're making their road trip down south, which the South is not notoriously friendly towards others, and you know they make sure to find like the lesbian bar, they find the lesbian soccer team, and just going from city to city and being able to find that, it kind of opened the door a little bit, which makes me feel like that's true to form. And it's not just something they threw in there. That's probably a thing that people really do, because if you are traveling as a lesbian couple in the South, you probably want to go to places that are more friendly. So you would not have to deal with the Bible thumpers or the people that go, how am I supposed to explain this to my kid?
Jason, what a great parallel there. I 100% agree. I know there may not be an explicit great, like a book, but I'm sure online there are plenty of resources of those places that are notated. I have like family, I have lesbians in my family and I've been around them, so it's a little bit more natural. And I felt not sensationalized or not. It did feel a little bit more real, albeit turned up, stereotype a little bit there, but I bought it. I mean, I thought I bought it as far as her acting that way. That is sort of enough of the energy that she was putting forth. And then that, when you have, forgive me, it's not a uniform, of course, but when you have like the cowboy sort of shirt and then it's like cut off at the sleeves. So we know. It's, So anyway, there was that. And then it was interesting to see Ethan Coen, breaking out from his brother. It was time. He didn't write it with him. Wrote it with a partner, but not him. And I should say, where is her name here? Oh, Trisha Cook. Let's see what else Trisha has written. She was an editor on Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Fantastic. And worked on Bart. So she came from the editorial department, and then she also edited this movie. So she helped write and edit it. So good for her. Okay, so Jason, we're going to move to, what are your other thoughts on this before we give it a rating?
I liked Beanie Stein, whatever it is. I thought there's a scene, I mean, you should have already watched it, so it's not a big deal. There's a scene when the bad guys, let's call them bad guys, when the bad guys come to confront her over her girlfriend leaving or trying to find her girlfriend, and she absolutely works this guy, and he's the heavy, he's the thug, and she makes him look pathetic. And I went, well, that's interesting. And then we find out she's a cop, and I was like, okay. I like that. I will say there was one scene that was a little, I don't know if I want to say unexpected, but there is an arrest. Marion, Geraldine's character, gets arrested for vagrancy. And we're not going to go into vagrancy laws in the South. Google it. You'll see why they existed in the first place, post-slavery. But she gets arrested, and as they're driving in the car the next day, she gets a lecture from Jamie, and Jamie basically is giving her the talk that is famous for Black people, where it's basically like, humble yourself and shut up, and then we'll move on from there. And I went, It was an interesting take, hearing it from a white female to a person of color, because that's not how that conversation generally goes.
Yeah. I mean, don't you see marginalized groups share commonalities?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like if she had spoke to Tariq Hill before, that would have went a lot easier. Roll the window down. That's it. Roll it down.
So funny. Okay, Jason, on that note, we're going to rate 2024's Drive Away Dolls. Jason, what would you give this movie?
I'm going to give it a 3. I'll give it a solid 3.
3 out of 5. Good rating. Jason, for this movie, I'm going to give it a 4. I like it. I'm positive. I like a good indie comedy, and I have to sort of support them. It's like supporting the local business. You got to keep it going. Not the most favorite movie, but I am mesmerized, transfixed by her.
Well, before we move on, let me ask you, what did you think of the plot of the movie?
Plot was perfectly suitable to keep like me interested in the characters and actors. It was a little far-fetched, like Pedro Pascal when he showed up, and some of that storyline was like, okay, he's having fun. I mean, it's Ethan. He's like, I can do what I want. I'm having fun. So it was a little bit like, I think I just took it a little bit lighter, in the spirit of the comedy and those kind of like detours in the story, and just sort of like aided to, again, indie comedy, a little darker, a little weird, but perfectly fun.
Okay. I'll agree with you on that.
Right.
Now, well, let's before we move on, let's recommend a movie. I would like to recommend Love Lies Bleeding with Kristen Stewart and co-star, a lesbian murder drama thriller. She's excellent in it. Her co-star, who I don't remember her name, and I'm not going to look it up, also excellent. It was very gritty, and trust me, it's violent and it's explicit, but definitely want to recommend kind of the same genre-ish, a little more serious, not funny, but I would recommend that. What would you recommend?
Jason, I got a great one for you. I just had a quick search of notable lesbian movies, and I mean that in the most respectful way. There is a movie that back in film school, I used to have a little film club that would try to show films. I got some shit about this one, but I saw it at a festival, and I thought it was so interesting. It's called The Watermelon Woman. Have you heard of The Watermelon Woman?
I have not.
It's a 1996 American romantic comedy film written by the first Black lesbian. It's about the difficulties in navigating archival sources that either excludes or ignores Black lesbians working in Hollywood. I thought it was again, when you've seen like that perspective from back in the day, and that even marginalized to marginalized, and like they had to keep everything secret, all these codes, it was so interesting to me. I think it might be even streaming now. It's pretty fascinating. So The Watermelon Woman, it's a good one.
Solid. I'm gonna have to check that out.
See, we're ending on a good positive note there. We're under 20 minutes. Thanks everybody for listening. See you next time.
Bye.